Alright, we are just getting set up right now. So, give us a minute here. So I'm just waiting for my computer to catch up. Alright, so I can see the chat, which is a good thing. And zoom in a little bit here. I think that's a little better. We'll let that settle down and we'll get going. Hey guys, welcome in. So today we're going to be working on shafts for Turkish style drop spindles. We might do some other things later. That's what we're starting out with. So we're turning hard maple. Now we're just going to burnish with some wood chips. And then we're going to add a little bit of wax as a protective. Hey Mike, how's it going? Welcome in. There we go, there's an 8-inch shaft. These are the other two I made today so far. So we had a show, we're in Wisconsin, we had a show in North Carolina last weekend. So it was a Friday, Saturday show. So we left at North Carolina on Sunday. Sunday night and Monday, we were hit with a huge blizzard. So by the time we got back into town, Monday afternoon, everything was closed. I'm guessing we probably got a foot. So the city did a weather emergency, so there's no parking on the street. streets until Wednesday. Our workshop that we have, we park on the street. We don't have any parking in the back, so we got to take off until Wednesday. So yeah, Wednesday was basically getting everything unloaded, unpacked, getting the websites turned back on, that kind of stuff. Thursday we went to the mill. Alright, got a lot of vibration in this one, so unfortunately we're just going to break this one. Try to make a smaller one out of this side later. We'll keep going. These are not all going to turn out. Wood's a natural material. Gotta quit hitting my head on that. So I picked up a little kind of flea bug cold thing on my travels, and my partner Vicky got hit with it last night, so she was feverish, so she took today off. I'm flying solo today. Little vibration in that one too. All right, we'll try this one. So we have a break now. Our next show is until April. Then we have back-to-back shows. So should be fun. Oh, good news. Buck Tool, their 16-inch scroll saw, is back in stock on Amazon. So they sent me a scroll saw to do a video on, and then the tariffs got real bad. This is my opinion. I didn't talk to them about it. But yeah, so 3 months ago, they're like, hey, right before Christmas, you know, hey, can you do this to review? And I'm like, okay. You could have one of the ones we have in stock right now, or you could wait until our shipment comes in. So I chose to do the ones they had in stock, and then the shipment never happened. So I assume what happened was they had them in a bonded warehouse waiting for the tariffs to equalize because they're coming from China. And when the tariffs would change, you know, every hour, it was kind of hard to do that. So now they're in stock. Have I used an Excalibur? I have used further revisions that come past it. My current saw now is a Pegasus. So I have not used an Excalibur, but I have very similar saws that came out of the same factory. Hello, A. Welcome in. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the double parallel arm saws. Yeah, that's nice. And that's the same way, you know, like the new Bauer is. The new buck tools are. Yeah. You can see a little peek here. And if I take my camera off. Yeah. So there's my Pegasus. The buck tool is over here. Little 16-inch. And my poor little Bauer is right there for now. So the Bauer is eventually going to go back to that stand. And then that saw there is going to be put on a different stand for the girlfriend. So there we go. Didn't realize how tall my TV was. Yep, they're pretty close. Hey Ping, how's it going? Welcome in. Yeah, so the Bauer and the buck tool are both made by Chansen in China. They're also doing the new King scroll saws and Rikon scroll saws and a bunch of other brands as well. You know, so it's similar to, you know, like, you know, Excalibur, Psycho, Pegasus, you know, they're all coming out of the same factory as well. I like my coffee, you know, like I like my women, you know, sweet and sugary. Alright, so if you just tuned in, we are making drop spindle shafts. These are for Turkish spindles, so we're starting out with a piece of hard maple. I'm going to start with my roughing gouge. I'm going to be using this wrench or spanner as a caliper. Let's see, Alma says, I haven't seen your stream in a few weeks. That's because I was getting ready for a show and had to drive to North Carolina. This is my first stream since I've been back. I'm not sure which dangerous statement I made, but oh, the coffee, yes. I was going to say, I like coffee like I like my men. I don't like men. That's why I have to put a bunch of cream and sugar in it. And I'm starting out with breakfast blend to begin with. So, so if anybody has seen ads for a Garvey scroll saw on TikTok, do not buy that piece of junk. And that's my public service announcement of the day. I gotta stop bumping my head. Sorry about that. See if I can move this up a little bit. It's down a little bit. It's a little better there. We'll go with that. Well, what I'm doing is I'm making a device for making the yarn. So this is what came before the spinning wheel. Let me grab one. I am back. Alright, so we're making these shafts here. So this is a slightly different shape, but you get the idea. So we're going to spin yarn and then we're going to store it on the spindle to make a ball of yarn. So you got to start out with fiber. I'm going to grab, this is wool. This is like blackface meat sheep. Inexpensive wool. So I'm going to take the spindle. This one hasn't been sanded yet, but it'll work. So I'm going to put a little bit of hairs over, push it down. Now I'm going to draw back. And this is called a leader. This is just to get me to the top of the spindle. Try that again. Come up here, put in a half hitch to hold it, and I'm going to spin the spindle, and with my hands, I'm going to draft the yarn. So I'm taking this roving here, and I'm spinning it into yarn here. And then once you get some spun, you're going to store it on the spindle. Come up to the top, put a half hitch in again. And then we can just continue spinning. So this is a single. Most times you'd go back and then you would ply it to make it thicker. So it's the same thing as the spinning wheel. It just takes a little longer because the spinning wheel will automatically wrap it onto a bobbin, where this one you have to stop to wrap it. But as far as my hands go, you know, I'd be doing the same thing on a wheel. That's what we're making today. Hey Trish, how's it going? Welcome in. Yeah, I grabbed off the top of my box and I've been, yeah, this thing is very not straight. So the ones that are bent, I will cut in half or look to see where they are bent and then try to cut them to get straight portions off it. Yep. Yeah, so we've been using spindles since at least Neolithic times. It's one of the very earliest simple machines. You know, it's a shaft with a flywheel. It's all it is. Now this is a Turkish style. There's a lot of different types. You know, some of them will have a whirl on the top, a whirl on the bottom. It could be as advanced as just a lump of clay. You know, you just need some mass to keep that spin going. Yep. Alright, so I'm going to shut the lathe off as I'm backing this off so we can look at the shaft and see what it's doing. So it's spinning really nice. We're spinning at about 3,600 RPMs. It's running really nice and straight. It's my test whirl I'm going to put on. And this is called a story stick. It's just got a bunch of reference lines on. And I cut out this piece here so I can register it against it. And then I'm making an 8-inch, so I'm just going to transfer my 8-inch lines over, and then this is where the beads go on the bottom. Now, this is for 6-inch, where I actually have little lines cut in there. So if I was making a 6-inch, I would transfer the lines over that way. So the fact that this has numbers written on it, it doesn't matter. So we're going to lay the beads out. I'm going to be using this beading tool, just basically a V-scraper. I'm going to take my skew, come up to the top, and lay it in my finial. Now we're going to burn in a couple decorative lines between the beads. Turn the lathe down and then start sanding. We're starting with some medium grit. Then a fine grit. We're going to turn the speed back up to 100%. Which is 3,629 ripums on this one. So I have some wood chips. I'm just going to hold it against the wood. It's called burnishing. And we're going to add some wax. So this is as far as we could get well between centers. And all that means is, well, this one I have a 4-jaw chuck, so I'm clamped in this side. And on the back here we have a live center. A pin that has a bearing, so it's spinning. So I need to work on the top here, so I'm going to cut it away from the live center. But since we're clamped in with this chuck, it's not going to go anywhere. So you want to get as much work done as you can while it is between centers. Add wax. Then I'm going to come up and I'm going to cut it off to a point on the bottom. We'll be using our skew for that. So yeah, the spindles I'm making are thin, so I do have to support them with my hand. I mean, I can sit here and I can bend them. Yeah, if I had a small steady rest to put in here, it would take longer to adjust it than it would be to make a whole spindle. So that one's running nice and true. Yep, so I switched to doweling probably about 2 years ago. Prior to that, I would just buy like 6/4 inch pieces of hard maple and then cut them down to 1/2 inch long squares. This way costs a little more, but I don't make as much of a mess, and I save a lot of time doing it. Vibration in this one. We should be able to get a 6 inch out of it. How's it going? Welcome. Hello, Mohammed. Welcome in. Unfortunately, I only speak English. My French teacher would be very disappointed in me. Now that I say that, I'm adding how long I've been graduated for. I think my French teacher's probably dead. That's all right. It happens to the best of us. Yep. I've been doing this full time for, this is my 13th year. Yes, people still spin yarn. Jefferson, how's it going? Welcome in. You know, I've met people who their full-time business is they, make wooden pens. Привет, my Drew. I know that's horrible, but welcome in. I used to make crochet needles, I just don't have time. Yeah, and when I was making them You know, with the big handles like furls. Just for all those knife grippers. We make quite a few null binding needles. So null binding can be for knitting or crochet. It's basically a series of knots. So unlike knitting and crochet, if you got a hole in something, it wouldn't run. So what I found the easiest to make crochet hooks is to start out with the square stud. So a piece of square, clamp it in, get your diameters right. Real easy, just get some metric spanners or wrenches so you can get the diameter right. Yes, I do, Nick. Welcome in. So I would do the outline of that, you know, kind of do a finial similar to that. And since I kept this end still square, I could set it down, and then I could rough in the shape. The hook part I could cut out on the scroll saw before I take the square chunk off. And then it would come in with files at angles into the hook part itself to round that part over. So I want to say that, hello G, welcome in. I want to say I've got about a month, and then we got another, it's a new show, it's in downtown Chicago. I really don't know much about it. We have that show, and then the weekend after that, I believe we'll be in Minnesota for Shepherd's Harvest. So we got a lot of spindles to make. Not a lot of time to do it. Huh. What else do I make with my scroll saw? I do some prep work. I've been doing some project videos, you know, key racks, that kind of thing. Just decorative stuff. All the Turkish spindles, the arms are all cut out on the scroll saw. The scroll saw is really nice for putting rectangular holes in. I do not have my phone on me. So let me see if I can track down my phone. We'll go on an adventure together. No phone. Oh, speaking of scroll saws, I'll show you my next project. So after I get done with these shows, got this little Shopmaster scroll saw that I want to get up and running. I want to make a table that's very 1950s-ish. Redo the tensioning system, get rid of that table. Come on. All right, let's track down my phone. So I have my dust collector here that goes out and then comes up to the lathe. All right, no phone there. Yeah, it's going to be pretty once it's done. Ooh. We've got chocolate. Phone. All right. Yeah, just in case a girlfriend wants to get a hold of me. Figure I should have my phone. Oh, thank you. Yeah, the nice part about it is it's about a 5-minute drive from my house. If it's nice out, I can walk here in like 15 minutes. Oh, I hear you. Prior to this, I was working out of a little 10 by 10 garden shed. And then I added one of the bedrooms of the house, so I had another 10 by 10. So like my table saw, chop saw, planer, that kind of stuff was outside. So I get it down to the smaller size, and then I would have the lathe and the scroll saw in the house. Little vibration, we can get a 6-inch out of this one. You haven't even seen the creepy basement. I do a lot of finishing in the basement. Hey Vlad, welcome in. Sorry I missed you there for a minute. Yep, so this building was built in 1900. Originally, it was a little grocery type store. Hello, George. Long time no see. Welcome in. I've had the creepy basement shops too. I'm doing good. Hey, Pat. We're back from our show. Everything went well. I missed out on the huge snowstorm here. I'm thinking we got about a foot. Hey, YOLO, welcome in. So we are making Turkish drop spindles today. So my son was taking care of the house and feeding the cats, and because of the snowstorm, my son also had to come here and shovel the sidewalks, which I'm very appreciative of. And then when we got hit really, really hard on Sunday/Monday, I want to say, Vicky's son came with a snowplow and plowed out our driveway. So we had a whole bunch of snow, and I got out of shoveling. It was amazing. So when these are done, this is an example of what one will look like. They're used to spin yarn. So that one's got yarn on it, and that's what we're doing today. So the weather is nice here. It's 48 degrees and sunny. Yeah, so the show was Friday, Saturday. We slept over. We left on Sunday. Got to partway through Ohio. I can't think of the town we always stop in. It's like White House, something Court or something. And then Monday when we were driving, we did hit flurries through Ohio, but everything kind of settled down. It's delicious. Delicious. I added some rails on the back so it doesn't fall anymore. Yeah, I can't sell these at a normal craft show. It just wouldn't work. I do fiber festivals. So it's a lot easier to sell these to people who know what they are. So the metric we use to kind of weigh if it's a successful show or not is you want to make 10x what you paid for the booth. Fiber. Never played with fiber. Fiber, F-I-B-E-R. People who knit, crochet, raise sheep, make yarn, that kind of thing. So the last show we just got back from was Carolina Fiber Fest in Raleigh. I'm guessing the attendance was probably between 4,000 and 6,000 people through the door for Friday and Saturday. Yeah. So whatever you pay, we do 10 by 20s typically. So we do 2 booths. Yep. Yeah, a well-established show. You know, I can make in a weekend what it would take me a month to make online. I have a cold. You know, the big Achilles heel is when you're doing shows hundreds and hundreds of miles away, there's a lot more expensive. So I'm getting older. I'm in my 50s, and yeah, I will only drive for like 8 hours a day. So driving to North Carolina was a 2-day trip. You know, back before I was doing this full time, you know, you were driving as long as you could. You'd rest a couple hours in a rest stop and keep going. Yeah, I'm not built for that anymore. You know, we do a couple festivals that allow tent camping. You know, it's typically on a fairground. Hello, Jose. How's it going? Welcome in. So let's see. Mike says, my wife makes and sells bags. Very cool. And you're a woodworker and you're 58. I'm trying to figure out what products to sell. So what I make is very niche, right? And a lot of it has to do with, you know, what will sell in your area as well, you know. I know people do really good making little whiskey smokers to put over the glass, or like wine glass holders for a bottle of wine. You know, cutting boards are always... Everybody knows what a cutting board is. Small, you can take several. Yeah. So when I prepare for shows, I try to have double the inventory on what I think I can sell. That way I don't run out of things, and that way I'm one step ahead when I get home. I can just take stuff I didn't sell and throw it online and relax. Yeah, I mean, you know, I make a lot of keychains and buttons. I make a bunch of little things. So I'll have one table that have like all the notions and stitch markers and all the little things that people like. And that little table, gives me, the ability to sell to people who don't spin yarn. Hello A and hello G, welcome in. What are some of the coolest things that I have crafted? I don't know. Prior to this, I was making wooden toys and like wooden name signs. And, I used to make like large ampersands. I made a bunch for Nike. Nike would at their headquarters. They were bringing like the family in. They were having like a family day with crafts and stuff. So they bought a whole bunch of these ampersands that I was making, and then they were going to have the families paint them or whatever. I did work with a couple clothing designers making them like signs. Back when I worked at the Oshkosh Truck, they build vehicles. I used to make little wooden toys for Easter and for Christmas for the union. So everybody would, all the kids would get little wooden toys. That's kind of cool. So I used to make word signs that said bacon on them. They're about that big. Inexpensive. I think they're like $10 or $12. This is before I was making spindles, so probably 2009, 2008, kind of in that region. One of my signs was featured in Food Network magazine. So they had a picture of it and a link to my Etsy shop. I thought it was kind of neat. Because bacon is awesome. There's quite a bacon craze in the mid-2000s. And I did a lot of custom stuff too. I made huge wedding names. It was their bacon issue, so you would have to ask them. Yeah, and you know, the whole live, laugh, love signs were all the rage back in the day. And I made a few that were very not PC oriented for people, which I always got a kick out of. I made a wooden pickle for somebody one time. If you've seen Bad Santa. Oh, I have a video of this, but I'm going to show you probably the neatest thing I've made in a long time. I made a video on making this, but it would have to be the anti-disestablishmentarianism sign that I made on the scroll saw. I think Christmas is over, but yeah. So that's a Steve Good design. So I cut it on the scroll saw, and then I took a power carver and rounded off all the edges on the outside. So yeah, I like that kind of stuff. Another video is this key rack with the capybara on. So yeah, these are top world drop spindles that I make. So some of them are laser engraved on the top, and other ones are sublimated. So I could put images on top. I did a little quick video on making the Supernatural logo. So I've made a lot of little wooden ducks in my life. So. All right, probably should go back to work. Oh, trays. I've been making trays. So it's a sheep catch-all tray. Yeah, I've been working on the CNC machine to dial it in a little better, so they look nicer now. Yeah. So make that on that. So we keep busy. Hello, Kay. Sorry, I only speak English. I'll leave that one up to you. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of circular blades, spiral blades, but you know, sometimes you just need a good spiral blade. I stopped after Numal. flat spot down here. Little chip out. Yeah, you got to be real on top of them. It's kind of like, you know, the tooling for the lathe, you know. I don't use carbide a whole lot, but every once in a while, you know, a carbide cutter can be very useful. Oh, and I spoiled myself. I bought myself a gross of Olsen precision ground teeth blades, number 7s. I'm good for a while on those. On the warpy side. Nice seeing you again, George. And I bumped. Yeah, most of the time, I keep most of my blades, you know, in tubes with tops on. Yeah, so these are all Nikwa blades, or Flying Dutchman on this side. Then on this side, we jump to Olsen Mach Speeds. And then these tubes won't fit in there, but they're the PS Wood Super Sharps. These are very aggressive blades too. I like them. And then get this out of the way. And then the majority of the spiral blades and all kind of the odd ones end up here. Yeah. So I got Nikwa and I've got Pegasus spirals in here, a bunch of different sizes. You know, it's kind of amazing how things just kind of grow at times. The lids that came with these tops tend to pop off pretty easy. So I 3D printed these out of TPU. So they're squishy. Do I still have a pupper on the saw? On this one, yeah. I'm not running dust collection, but I could. Actually, since we're here, we might as well do a little cutting. See if I can do this. You change this from a puffer to a vacuum? Nice. So this is 5/8 inch thick hard maple. Let's see if I can make it. There we go. I just don't like having to listen to a vacuum all the time. Got tired of sawdust in your face? That's why you put one of these in between you and your... Put a magnifier in there. I do have one of those DeWalt shop vacs that are about half the volume of normal ones. But I use that on my CNC machine. Nice. That's the way to do it. Now when I'm cutting like really hard wood, I will sit there and with my level just make sure I am cutting squarely. Yeah, hard maple, you tend to push a little hard and you could tweak the blade a little bit and then it's not cutting square anymore. So we take our time with hard maple. I make these out of hard maple, cherry, and walnut. Cherry and walnut soft enough where I can go full speed. So with the maple, we take our time. Now we're just going to lay out the mortise. So this is the cool thing about scroll saws is you can make internal cuts. What do you think about using the laser to put on a pattern onto the wood instead of a paper pattern? That works well. Sometimes I will incorporate, like I'll put laser designs. Focus down here. Hello. Let's focus down here. All right. Where, yeah, I will laser engrave the pattern over the top and usually some other detail. It works fine. It's just an extra step. So I'm using blue painter's tape. I'm just verifying that this hole that drilled is centered, which it is. So, yeah, I like putting painter's tape down on the patterns. That way I'm gluing this on with spray adhesive. That way I can just peel this off so I don't have any residual glue to deal with. And I don't want to be huffing mineral spirits all day, every day. Oh yeah, that would work. And if you're just going to be using smaller, you can get a smaller laser. Avoid the open gantry lasers at all costs. You want something that's encased, or at least buy an enclosure for it, because you don't want to breathe in, the smoke that you're generating. Yeah, I got 3 lasers. I got a tarp over my CO2. I'm not using it right now. But yeah, everything's vented outside. You could get if you just want something like that, you could get a little diode laser that you can actually just set on top of your project. Just be careful with fumes. So when the spindles are done, I will laser engrave my business name, the type of wood, and then I have the weights, depending on the size, in imperial and then in metric as well, because I do sell these all over the place. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, then you're good to go for that. But if you're doing shows, if you had a little diode laser, you could personalize at the show. What weight? I don't know. We're just... So this little guy, I can run off a jackery, and I've got a little fume extractor for it as well. So if I wanted to, personalize names or whatever on something, I can just bring this. And since it will run off a jackery, I don't even need power. So if you're doing like an outside craft show, Yeah, I know that look. But we could pay that laser off in one show. And then it's pure profit from there on out. So I was hoping that I'd be done making articulated dragons, 3D printing dragons. So the last show I went to, I brought 40 with me and came home with 4. So it looks like I'm going to be making more dragons. But if you get the little laser, you could, make some, custom leather patches for the bags, and then you could customize that too. Oh yeah, yeah. There's always that. Oh, I could make that. Okay, then go ahead and do that. Here, take a picture of it. Nice. I will not cut felt anymore. Real felt? Oh my god. No wonder people don't light sheep on fire. Oh, it smells so bad. Yeah, but if you had the little laser, you could take that to shows, and then you could customize stuff right there on the spot for people with their bags. And that's how you sell it to your wife. Oh, that smells horrible. Then you got to make sure, you have real leather. You can't laser artificial leather. Well, you can. You're just going to make poison chlorine gas. It's going to destroy everything inside your laser. Yeah, so I use the blue tape so it's easy to pull off, but it also helps lubricate the blade. Right? Yeah. Yeah, so I've been lasering some sublimation material, and it's just been a pain. Just a pain to cut on my 40 watt. So I finally got a process down. I have to put masking over the protective film, and then when I laser it upside down. Otherwise, you get like little burn marks where it starts and ends. Ugh. Now that I got the procedure down, it works much better. Yeah, I got my first scroll saw when I was 12. Ooh, I got some Mexican ebony. I can never remember what it's called. It's Kotox or something. Oh, it's gorgeous. Using a drag knife, yeah. Oh, this stuff was, it's mounted to hardboard. So yeah, it's like 3 millimeters thick. So. Tells you the honeycomb. No, it cuts in one pass. I mean, it'd be much faster on an 80 watt. If I had to guess on the top of my head, probably about 20 minutes, maybe. But you know, I'm always doing other things, so you know, when I get back up to the full swing of things, you know, it would not be unusual to have, you know, 5 3D printers going, you know, 1 laser engraver, the CNC machine, and have me sitting here working on the scroll saw or lathe, just monitoring everything. Yeah, so I use my lasers more for marking than I do for cutting these days. You know, with the 40 watt, you're limited to, you know, 1/4 inch material if you want to do anything in a single pass, or you don't want to jump through a bunch of hoops. All right, well, that's all I have laid out, so yeah. So I try to, just concentrate on one thing. Try to keep the noise level down. All right. Speaking of noise level, I'm going to put my earplugs back in. And we're going to make a mess. All right, so we're turning hard maple. Ooh, why don't I put the tail stuff? Yeah, look at that. Hey Kiki, how's it going? Welcome in. Long time no see. And that's my fault because I haven't been live streaming in a couple of weeks. So what are my thoughts on doing a multi-cam live? I used to live stream here on YouTube and on Twitch with, God, a lot of cameras. So me and my girlfriend would both have a face cam, and then we'd have a tool cam on her, a tool cam on me, and then depending on what we were doing, we had multiple cameras for that. It works. This is just easy. This is just an old cell phone that I turn on and I talk. Ooh, you're spinning cotton and silk today? Awesome. I do have some cotton I need to spin up myself. Now, this is just a singular camera. So, if you're doing a multi-camera, you'd be running it through like Slobs, which is Streamlabs, or there's a lot of different programs. OBS is what Streamlabs is based off of. When I record video, I will use OBS, and I have a plugin that will record my 4 cameras all at one time with individual files. which is really nice because when you get to editing, you can just take all 4 videos, lay them up and down with each other, and when you're editing, you can select which file you want, so that you can just go from one camera to the other camera. That works out really well. Well, no, a lot of times you're using webcams, so everything is plugged into the computer. This is just a cell phone that I'm running on Wi-Fi. Yeah, I just have one cell phone here that's running it. Yeah, this is just a Samsung phone that I got with T-Mobile. And when I canceled, they refused to take the phone back. It charged me $180 for it. So I'm getting my $180 out of the cell phone. Yep, so you can have other programs that will take, connect to Wi-Fi and then use your phone as a camera. That works out well too. I have a program, I think it's called Camo, which does a really good job. So you have an application on your phone and then an application on your computer. Yeah. So, I got a little splurgy this week. We had a good show. So I bought some wireless HDMI units, so I can take my the television I'm watching in the shop and spit it to a computer that's not plugged into anything. No, a monitor that's not plugged into anything, and then the big TV out in the front. I'll be able to stream whatever we're watching. So I bought that, and then I bought one of those devices to put 4 screens on one television. And that was the extent of me splurging. Well, I look at it this way. We have headphones on. We're wearing hearing protection all the time in here, pretty much. And they are, they're wireless headphones. So. It's a little overboard. But we're here a lot. So, one monitor there, one monitor there, another monitor there, and another monitor there. So it all depends where you're sitting. Yep. I'm going to go use the restroom, and you're just going to have to use context clues there. I'll be right back. Right? Might as well. Well, I need to be able to monitor what we're doing when I'm live streaming, because I can't see the camera. Alright, I'm back. And you know, we do a lot of little work where we're sitting down doing repetitive tasks. So most of the time the TVs are going to be, you know, running audio, or we'll put on some series we've already seen a billion times and just have it in the background. There is always more. So as far as equipment, I'm allowed to get one thing at a time until I pay that off. So the CNC machine should be paid off in the next 6 months. And then I could buy one other thing. And after that, I could buy one other thing when that's paid off. Oh, yeah. I used to run one of those as well. The voice to chat. So there's a guy on Twitch, and he had it set up where you could only chat through the voice thing if you had a membership. Otherwise, you get people on there who will just spam that continuously until you ban them. And that channel, I think it was Texas Hula. I believe his last name is Hoop. Yeah, I used to run the whole thing, and, you know, whenever anybody, you know, would follow me, would come up on the screen, you know, blue, or donate any money, blue. Yeah, I'm just way stripped down these days. You got kicked out of a religious YouTube channel? It happens. Yeah, and I used to run multi-stream, so I'd be streaming on YouTube and Twitch at the same time. And I'd have the chat in a window so people could see what was going on. And then I was using another program that would take both of the chats and put them together in one. I know that, I think Streamlabs, you can do that now, but it's a paid service. Yeah, well, I got a TV right here. When I'm on the scroll saw, I've got another one, but the text I usually blow up if I'm going to be in the scroll saw, but I can peek over on the screen on that one. our last show was amazing. It was Carolina Fiber Fest in Raleigh. So normally the fairgrounds would have dog shows or cheerleading competitions, something else big going on. This year they had a gun show in one of the smaller buildings. So the hotels weren't packed. They didn't have any college things going on. So the hotel room, we got a suite for the price of a normal room because the suites were Diamond Plus reward members or whatever. So we actually had a suite for the show, which was nice. Do I do anything in Virginia? I do not. I do 2 shows in North Carolina. I do 1 show in Minnesota, 1 show in Illinois, 1 show in Wisconsin. We dropped the Texas show this year just because the drive is just, it's a killer. We're doing 1 show in California. But yeah, for East Coast, it's just 2 shows in North Carolina. Hopefully, eventually, we'll get into Rhinebeck, which is New York Sheep and Wool. That show is huge. I'd like to get into Maryland. That's another big fiber show, which is awesome. It is fancy. It just says you stay in hotel rooms way too much. I don't know if it's expanding. I am seeing a lot of younger faces at shows, which is a good thing. So I don't know if the people who are leaving the art, if the equal number coming into it, but yeah, the shows have been really good. Yeah. The next time we're going to be in North Carolina, we're actually going to be in Asheville in October. Actually, it's I think it's Fletcher, but it's next to Asheville. It's where the airport is. Yeah, crochet is huge. You know, there's a lot of people doing amigurumi, which is awesome. Those are the teddy bears and animal-shaped things. I always tell people, macrame, it's coming back in a big way. So my setup is tables. I only do tables. I used to work out of somebody else's booth for a while there, and they did a lot of grid wall. And grid wall is heavy, and it's very finger crushing. So basically my 10 by 20 is just a big U shape, and then I'll have a front table, 2 front tables. Sometimes I'll do tables in the back, depending on how much room we have. So we kind of got just a U-shape aisle that people go through. I was thinking those pot, when you hang plants off the ceiling. Actually, I don't think I took a picture of my setup. Let me look. You know, it seems like something you should do is take a picture of your booth. really boring. I don't have to hide anything from you guys. Well, I have a picture of my front table. Well, that was taken at home. That's just my layout, all the little stuff. Yeah, 2 mannequins to hold your wife's bags. Nice. Yeah, so when I was showing the top rolls, I got a table and then I got a rack for all the top rolls. I can't believe I don't have any pictures in my booth. I'm back here years and years and years. Come on. Oh, okay. So this is a 10 by 10. So that's a half display. So just tables and that one rack. And that rack typically has bars that come up so I can have my banner in the front of the booth. Yes. What do you do at fairs? Talk or spin? Yes. I'm spinning probably about 80% of the time, if not more. I do a lot of... Anybody who comes in the booth, if they're looking for a few minutes, I'll introduce myself, ask them if they need help with anything. Are the walls mine? No, that's part of the... part of the convention center. No, I have a very stripped down display. My booth is very stripped down. At the end of the show, it takes us about an hour to pack out. And that's breaking everything, all the spindles down, putting them in boxes. But yeah, I do a lot of spinning, a lot of demoing. Which is very, very tiring. So I'm very introverted. Urgent. So at shows, I am masking the entire show. Which I don't mind doing. It's just, it's tiring. Right? I have a Ford Transit Connect, so like the smallest van they make. So I got to get a show's worth of stuff in that van, which is limiting. But luckily, we sell a lot of small things. You know, I tell people that I have an emotional support Vicky, which does help. A little bit of vibration on the top, so we're going to make this into a 7-inch instead of an 8. Not a big deal. And the truth of the matter is, I have neuropathy, so I'm taking gabapentin for that. And I believe that has mellowed me out quite a bit. Well, for me, spinning is my distraction. And I'm always wearing a kilt. Yeah, you tell yourself, oh, they're looking at me because I'm wearing a kilt. Or because I'm spinning. And that does help. So when we do SAP, it's right around Halloween. So the last day, the Sunday, we'll wear costumes, which is always fun. Yes, for the most part, yes. The last show? No, because we forgot our director's chairs, so we bought some really high stools that were very hard to get on and off of. So that was the first time I ever broke the rules on that. Yes, typically commando. Yep, you know, stick with the meds, they take a while to kick in. Yeah. All right. For me, you know, I'm taking the gabapentin for neuropathy. It has mellowed me out a little bit, but you know, with my bipolar, I've been on a bunch of different medications that really pretty much just sucked all the fun out of life. So my creativity went out the window. And then personally, I'm like, you know, if this is the way everybody else feels, I feel sorry for everybody else. Yeah, I think that the biggest improvement to my life was being self-employed, honestly. But you get to hide behind a piano, right? For me, it was always the pre kind of stuff. Once you got on stage, you got through the first couple seconds, first couple minutes, things kind of evened out. And I mean, it's easier to perform in front of 2,000 people than it is 5. Nice. That one's a little warped. Oof. So this right here is 50% chance of working, 50% chance of not working. Oof. I'll take those odds any day. It's got a little vibration in it. I don't know if you can see, I'm just barely touching the surface here, and then all the rest of this material is gone. Oh man. We'll keep going. So stimulants, a lot of people self-medicate with stimulants. You know, as far as nicotine goes, I used to chew 24/7. If I was awake, I had to dip in. All right, I'm gonna go with the 6-inch. Now, I'm old enough where, when I had carpal tunnel, they threw a bunch of opiates at me. If whenever I had surgery, throw a bunch of opiates at me. And, yeah. So I've spent my whole life avoiding opioids because my body loves them. I've never done hard drugs because I know my body likes them. Oh, yeah. And after a while, they just kind of take the edge off. All right, we successfully made a 6-inch shaft out of that one. I'm very impressed by that. And they used to hand out, Vicodin like candy. Vicodin, hydrocodone, yeah. If they're not perfectly straight, if they have a wobble in them, when you're using them, they'll just kind of go back and forth. They'll wobble when you're using them. So, will the ones that have a wobble in them work? Absolutely. Will people be totally disgusted by them? Yes. 100 years ago, would they have cared? No. If you go to Peru and buy a spindle off a Peruvian, will it be perfectly balanced? No. Peru's a very spinning-oriented country. So we're just spoiled and expect, perfection. Yeah, they allowed me to smoke when I first started at Quad Graphics, which is a bindery. They print magazines. Well, I worked in the finishing department when they put everything together, so it wasn't like Revere where you could blow up the plant. But yeah, I was smoking almost 3 packs a day. It was a 12-hour shift. You'd need one match in the morning and you were good for 12 hours. I would imagine there'd be a little bit of difference as far as energy conversation. Yes. but I don't think it'd be that big of an issue. Yeah, now that used to be able to get a carton of cigarettes for $12, you know? I used to go to my gas station before work, and the person behind the counter would take 3 packs off, set them on the counter before I said anything. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, oh, you can't smoke at work anymore. Huh. Alright, this one I'm going to call bad. I don't think I'm going to be able to get even a 6-inch out of it. And that was back in the days before cigarettes would burn themselves out, too. Nice. Yeah, I smoked a pipe for a while. At work, but random people would come up and pick up my pipe and smell it. And like, you think if I'm smoking pop out of a corn pop pipe, I'd leave it setting on the table next to me? Nice. Oh, I bet. Yeah. I used to buy the filtered tubes and had the little cigarette machine. Back when vaping was delicious. Yeah, I don't smoke or vape anything anymore. My lungs are now just for breathing. you're really overweight but smoke free. So it's a win-win. So we are making some progress. Oh, that'd be so bitter. Hello, Jay. Welcome in. Yeah, so this morning I roughed out a half dozen of these. They're walnut. They just need to be sanded. So these are support bowls. So some spindles will sit in a bowl. So I sold out at the last show we went to. So here's the crazy part. What would you guess something like this would cost? It would be sanded out, and then there would be a just a natural finish on it. Yeah, walnut's amazing. It's getting kind of pricey these days. So I charged $10 for those. And I had them out of walnut, cherry. I had some that were aromatic cedar. You know, it's just a matter of, you know, cutting it into a square, and then I round over all the edges on a router, and then I mount it with like, I mount it to the face, and then just carbide it out. Yes, that is also true. If you sell other things, you're just not charging it enough. So I was also told that, you know, I should double my prices That way I only have to sell half as much. But the issue is, just because something sells really good at one show, doesn't mean it's going to sell really good at the next show. Right? I gotta grab my meds. I'll be right back. Yeah, so at this last show, I laid things out on the table by size. So these aren't sanded or finished, but the standard here, these both spin the same kind of yarn. They feel a little bit different. This one is, I think, $24. This one's like $40. This is made out of domestic woods. These are exotic woods. You know? So, obviously I sold a lot of the cheaper ones to people starting out, and the more expensive ones tend to be bought by people who know what they're doing, and they want something, this is red hard. Right? Somebody's like, oh, you should really raise your prices. I'm like, well, I could charge you more if you want me to. Oh, no. Oh, okay. And the last show was kind of nice because they did have multiple drop spinning classes. So people would go learn how to spin and then, track me down to buy a better spindle than what they had. It worked out really well. I mean, I even sell 3D printed spindles. They all have the wooden shafts, but... I mean, I do a lot of my 3D printing is functional. I make a lot of tools out of 3D printing. That being said, I make a lot of frickin' dragons. Hey, if it works, it works. You know, and I pretty much design entirely with, you know, anything that's two-dimensional. I'm gonna go with hang on a second. SVG files. The scalable vector files are just amazing. You know, because I could take one file, you know, drag it into the software for the CNC machine. You know, drag it in for the laser engraver. You know, bring it in for the 3D printers. You know, it all kind of ties together. You know, for a lot of the 3D printing stuff I do, I use Fusion 360. But I'm not opposed to just opening up like Tinkercad and add a loop on something to make it into a keychain or whatever. Well, like Tinkercad, entirely free. It's not the most user-friendly thing in the world, but it works. You know, the Fusion 360 that I'm using is if you make under a certain amount of money, you can get the program for free, or if you're using it just as a private person, not with a company, you can get a free version of that as well. It does strip some of the features away, but it's like I don't need that program. I use it for 3D printing primarily. I don't need to make it make paths for CNC machines or anything. I'm sure there's some new ones out there. I could be like 5 years behind, you know, what's popular. I just use what I use because I know how to use it. Prusa printers are kind of, you know, the standby. You know, they're not inexpensive. There's a kind of a big shift towards Bamboo Lab a few years ago. I don't know if Prusa really recovered from that or not. I mean, they're not hurting. One of my thoughts about AI artwork, a lot of people get really mad at me. It's the future. It's what's going to be happening. You know, a lot of artists are freaking out. Well, it's just, you're going to have to shift what you're doing to kind of meet up with what's going on. I mean, you know, Disney uses computer animation now. They don't have people even in their you know, a lot of people had to switch their jobs. I mean, for me, if I'm designing something and I'm using AI, it's the first step. And then you take that and you have to refine it and fix it and make it usable. Hey, how's it going, H? Welcome in. And I've gotten into feuds with people on Instagram about things I've made that I used AI to, you know, make a picture of a sheep to put on a spindle. And then you look at their portfolio and it looks like, you know, something a 5-year-old drew. I'm like, okay, are you mad at me, or are you mad at the fact that you couldn't do what AI did in 3 seconds? I see it from both sides. But at the end of the day, the majority of people don't care. Are you sick of seeing Highland cows on everything? Maybe. But they're cute and people like cute. Now, you know, I do a lot of scroll saw work, and oh, that's made by a laser engraver. That's you know, that's a machine doing it. Well, there's a lot that goes in behind the scenes of getting that machine to work, too. You know? And if people cared that it was either handmade or not handmade, then you wouldn't have an issue. The fact that they can undercut you because they're not spending 40 hours to make one piece, I mean... and like forums are just horrible. Like on Facebook, if you go to a scroll saw forum, it's all lasers, and you know, laser people in their forums, they don't care, whatever. Okay, you make it on a scroll saw. So is somebody going to be pissed at you because they use a fret saw or a coping saw? Oh no. How dare you use something motorized? That's just it. It's just different skills. How dare you use a table saw when you could, cut it with a handsaw? I'm going to buy this Amish furniture because it's made by Amish people. You're buying it from Mennonites who are using the same equipment everybody else is using. So top whirl spindles. I used to cut these out on the scroll saw individually one at a time, and then I would have to balance them because I'm not perfect. So I went from cutting them out by hand on the scroll saw to cutting them out on a laser and then gluing several pieces together to give me the thickness. And now I cut them out on a CNC machine. They look exactly the same. This is just a better way of doing it. If electricity falls out, then yeah, you're... Right. So Mike's saying, yeah, it takes so much longer to make a one-off on the laser than it does to just cut it on the scroll saw. But if you want to make 300, that's a different story. Exactly. So many years ago, we had a power outage when Vicky's son, he was probably about 11, maybe 10, 11. And we had a power outage. Not a big deal. We lit up some candles and just hanging out. And he was so pissed that he had to play on his cell phone like a caveman. Hey Kay, welcome in. Take you camping with no tent. I sort of did that. Yeah, he decided not to go to college, and so we were like, okay, you can stay here, but you got to pay rent, which he never did. You have to bought him a car because he had a factory job and had to get to his factory. Second he got the car, quit his job. Then he started dating a 28-year-old woman, moved her into the house, kicked her out. 2 weeks later, she's back living in my house. He quit his job. He doesn't need a job. He's shacking up with his 28-year-old girlfriend. So, needless to say, he no longer lives with us anymore. Oh yeah, hand tools work just fine. We used to smoke a lot of fish growing up. We had a creek behind our house that suckers used to run. So they used to spawn. And so suckers are like a catfish that have like a little, their mouth is like a little sucker that points down. Garbage fish, but yeah, you would smoke them. It was awesome. Yes, you can eat catfish. Catfish is good. Suckers, not so much. But if you smoke them, they're okay. I even eat bullheads. I'm not that way. They have to be on the smallish side, though. Yes, low temperature, long period smoking, yeah. We smoked a lot with apple wood, but we also had apple trees. Yeah, carp is not the most delicious thing, but it's prepared right. I've not had that. I think the biggest thing is you just have to brine the crap out of them. Yeah, so yeah, these suckers, they're considered a rough fish, so there's no limit. And how we would catch them, you could net them, but you'd have to net and pull the net straight up. There was no swooshing, and the DNR would keep an eye on you for that. But you could catch them at night. So you'd be wading in the creek with a flashlight, and you would throw them on the bank, and then we typically had somebody on the bank with a gunny sack throwing the fish in. So we were catching them by hand. Go with a 6-inch on this one. They had other things on their mind. They were spawning. They had milt on the brains. Yeah, I think the DNR kind of frown upon dynamite. So, sorry, I keep bumping my head on that. I gotta put this somewhere else. So I just broke my burning wire for the last time. But I do have a backup wire already made. So this is picture frame hanging wire. I like using 2 strands. So the original wire has like, I think 8 or 9 strands on. So I'll take 2 strands off, and then I will put the 2 pieces into a drill and then wind to get the thickness I want. So I make them super long, and then I just use one little area till it burns out, and then I just keep moving it down. So the cutoffs from these, the bigger ones, I'll make a 4 1/4 inch shaft out of. The smaller ones I'm kind of sitting on right now. I think I'm going to make looms out of them. I'm going to make some smaller inkle looms. And the ones that are really bad, they go in my fireplace at home. Yeah, so as far as scrap, all the cutoffs from, cutting these out, I burn everything. We got a fireplace at home, and it comes in really handy. Sometimes you get some weird smelling fires. And a lot of the wood chips I make fire starters out of them. This summer, I'm going to try to come up with a way of making more bricks out of the sawdust. I'm guessing a car jack or a pneumatic jack and a mold to pour some in. We'll see. Otherwise, the wood chips I will use, and sawdust, I'll use as mulch as well. Do I have a vise? I've got a couple smaller vices, yeah. I don't have a big boy, I got some smaller ones. Yeah, I was kind of looking at the pellet makers. The only drawback is I don't have a pellet stove. They sell pizza ovens. Nice. I can make pellets and chicken feed. A little vibration on that one too. Not a bad thing. I need 6-inch shafts, so. That did not come out right. Right. Yeah, I just like to use up as much waste as I can. I mean, I to the point where I make earrings out of small pieces. Actually, it hasn't been too bad here. I don't even know. The workshop itself, I think the biggest heating bill we had over the winter was like $300. So yeah, both the house and the shop is forced air, and it's piped in gas. I'm glad I don't burn fuel oil, I'll tell you that. Oh, as far as gas goes, okay, I thought got talking about furnaces. I think we're at like $3.50 a gallon. It's definitely more expensive on the East Coast. Yeah, right now for regular, we're hovering around between $3 and $3.60 a gallon. Premium, well, diesel is slightly more. I think California's like $8 a gallon right now for unleaded. Actually, I think I'm going to make this one into a 7-inch. No, I don't glue the shafts. I don't. The shafts kind of have to be solid. So I am thinking about making some small ornament spindles for the holidays. So maybe the smaller pieces will be that as well. How many so far today? I don't know. Let's see. $11, $12, $13, $14, $15, $16, $17, $18, $19, $20, $21, $22, $23, $24, $29, $30, $31, $30. I think like 33 today. Somewhere in that region. I was putting shafts on spindles and moving them around. I do make a top whirl with the wacky tobacco leaf on it. Oh, yeah. Give me 1 second. So, yeah, for April 20th, I make my special brownie spoons on occasion. My sister-in-law asked me to make another because was so well used it started to be hard to see. But yeah, so, gotta have fun with it. Where I live, that's not legal. Not even medical here. Every state around us has recreational. Grandma's secret recipe, that's good. So yeah, we have, the hemp-derived THC, but Mitch McConnell, the young Mitch McConnell who they have to wheel in a chair, I said foghorn, leghorn, Mitch McConnell, closed that loophole in the farm bill. So in 2026, that'll no longer be legal here. See, the issue with Wisconsin is, everybody, it's a known fact that we're a bunch of drunkards, right? And we have a tavern league that is pretty powerful. And the last thing they want is any form of legalized marijuana because you can, spend $2 on an edible rather than spend $20 at the bar. So we have a very strong lobbyist group totally against it. Grab some new paper here. Yeah. that's just it. What else are you gonna do? Yeah, when I went to college in the UP in the early mid 90s, they had a big issue with cat, methcathedone. What happened was some college students, kind of in chemistry, found an easy way to make this inexpensive drug that the Nazis used to use to stay awake. And the problem was it was made entirely out of legal things. But much like meth labs today, they would have very similar they would find these houses after they would blow up. And they would just be a nightmare to clean up from an environmental standpoint. And you could have a lab in the trunk of your car. So you go to the party store and buy a bunch of Effergen and go from there. The winters are long. Yeah. Let's go for it. This one's going to be bad. So I'm letting it get up to speed before I put the live center in. So it can try to find its own center. This one's bad. So I think we're going to finish this one up, and then I am going to go make some lunch. Check in on my Vicky, see how she's feeling. Good. I'd like to thank you guys for hanging out with me today. Nice. think I have a couple frozen chimichangas in the freezer. And I'll get a hold of Vicky, see how she's feeling. If she wants anything, I'll go pick her up whatever she wants. Oh yeah. And a good time was had by most. Yeah, I'm hoping to get a couple pre-recorded videos. The big thing is that scroll saw is now for sale on Amazon. They only had me make a video for it 3 months before it came into stock. I don't think it's very relevant. Hey, it's back in stock. Alrighty guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I'll catch you next time. And remember, be nice to people, because it doesn't cost you anything. Alright, have a good day guys.